So, which three phrases did you find to cut from the list that was given to you? I'm excited to see your answers. What did we cut? How did we reframe this? Well, first, we're looking at the things that we learned. Cut the legal jargon, cut the phrases in general, and then cut these things called throat clearing phrases. Throat clearing phrases are things that are oftentimes used in rhetoric and things that politicians use, like, for example, why did we find the $1 million in cash in your office behind your desk? Well, it's important to keep in mind the fact that some donations are, coming from non-bank account type of forms. Okay, well, the fact is what they're doing is they're saving time. They're biding time so that they can articulate their answer. But what you want to do in writing is you want to cut that, because oftentimes we will load these throat clearing phrases into our writing, and because that's the way we're thinking. We're thinking, oh, it's important to keep in mind the fact that, but instead of expressing that it's important, just make it important. Get the subject first and avoid these type of fact phrases. Here's our revision. The contract is invalid because Miss Smith was 17 when she signed it. You could also say Miss Smith was 17 when she signed the contract, so it is invalid. So you can have the subject as the contract, or you can have the subject as Miss Smith. But what's the key here? The key here is that it's not some long phrase that just basically doesn't tell me any substance. And so the red flag is, and here's the tip, is that if there's a word that comes before the subject at the beginning of the sentence, you can typically cut the phrase. We've looked into the matter and concluded that blah, 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 blah. Goes without saying that it goes without saying. And in further activities, you will be able to practice these phrases and have some fun. For right now, we're going to move on to the next concise skill. Take a look at this sentence. And then complete the activity, the rewriting activity, and then move on to the next video to find out the answer. So what I'm doing here is I'm hitting a stop recording, start recording, stop recording, start recording at the different elements, right? So normally what I would do is I would script this up and then know when we make the activities, and then basically you'll know when to stop, when to go, when to stop, when to go, and then it's a back and forth interplay with the student. It keeps them engaged. It keeps them wanting more, and at the same time, they can cut it off anytime and then come back to it. Okay, so you do have a process. You do have not just standalone videos, but yet you do have standalone videos. So what we would call these is cut phrases, cut legal jargon, and so forth and so on. And this is going to allow us to break down this content into bite-sized pieces that also leads to a more developed skill, and then give them practice at the same time. The idea is that once they complete all the videos in that, and then they complete all the activities and they receive a certain score, which will be automated as well, then they will get a certificate, but only after completing those tasks and activities. Even though they're doing writing here, we're not going to review that writing. The feedback is going to be automated and in a discovery type of approach, and yet the system will record all of their writing. So we will then, if anybody wants to ask, did the student complete the course, they're not just getting this passive yes, yes, and click the multiple choice question. They're actually getting some writing practice. And so that's the key for them to advance and learn. And if they don't put in the writing practice, then the system will also note that the field was empty. We can also set up the field to where they have to write a number of words, or that it can be timed, or anything like this with bells and whistles. But we'll keep it simple right now and basically say, if there's any words in the field, then they completed the activity. Then that's a point. Okay, and so this will be the next one, the next video that comes up. Okay, now you've completed the activity. Good job. You're making good progress so far. The third thing, or the fourth thing to cut, is redundancies and implied information. You probably caught this, didn't you? Yeah, I know you did. And so the thing is, did you catch all of it though? Because what we have in English is typically what native speakers do as well, is they will repeat stuff, or they will add redundant information. It could possibly result. The reason why, well, why do we want to give the reason why? It's kind of a throat-clearing phrase, isn't it? We also say, I promise it will not happen again in the future. Do I need to say, I promise? If I've just said it will not happen again in the future, isn't it implied that I'm promising that it won't happen in the future? And wait a second, isn't again already in the future? So what we want to do is make our writing as concise as possible with keeping the same content and intention, that as long as it's clear to the reader can figure it out themselves without taking baby steps in every single step to give them implied information. This will cut your writing into half and make it a lot more concise and reader friendly. Take a look at our revision. I might miss the deadline because I'm checking for code violations that could result in criminal prosecution. It will not happen again. What did we do? We kept the reasoning. I'm late, I admit it, but I'm not really going to apologize for that because there's a good reason for it. I just give you the reason. I don't make some kind of promise. I tell you, it will not happen again. You are my important client. I value you. I value your time, and I value my promises. So if I say it will not happen again, it will not happen again. And make sure that not only this is a writing promise, but make sure that you follow through and it doesn't happen again. Okay, so now we've seen some kind of the redundancies that we can cut out. Some of the interesting ones that we see in British English as well, and the Brits do this a lot, but also Americans and native speakers, and probably also in your language. You'll see a lot of words that work together that mean the same thing. For example, cooperate together with. Well, isn't all cooperation together? Conscious effort. We made a conscious effort to review your case and found out that you're going to lose. No, all efforts are conscious. Individually tailored. This is an individually tailored suit. That just is marketing language, you see. All tailoring is individual. Free gift. All gifts are free. Mutual agreement. You get the idea. All agreements are mutual. And so what you can do is take a look at the following video for the next thing that we can cut from legal writing. But also, if you want some more practice and have a little bit of fun on this feature of legal writing that you can cut, then you'll find that again in the supplementary material. If you have a problem with redundancies and implied information, just simply complete the 5-minute activity that's in the supplementary material, and you'll master that. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, I'm going to stop here, but you get the idea. There's basically two things that you can do with this existing material. So not even cutting everything up and putting it into bite-sized chunks, standalone pieces, you could literally use your own material and walk them through the Netflix movie, right? It's a series after series after series, but these are bite-sized series, and it's all in this idea of style. So in the end, it's 1 hour of training. But it might be 1.5 hours for the student because they're doing it at their own speed and they're doing it at their own timing. But in the end, they're going to come back to it. And that's what we want. Okay, Chris, the reason that YouTube YouTube videos are successful is because people stay on the video. If you watch a YouTube video and then you leave after 2 minutes, but it's a 40-minute video, YouTube calculates that and says nobody's interested in watching that whole video. But if you go to Joe Rogan and you sit there for 3 hours and watch a Joe Rogan video for 3 hours, YouTube says that's content that people want. It's the same thing. If you keep coming back and you keep in the learning, then they are going to learn more. If we take this approach where it says, okay, here's this bite-sized chunk of learning, go, okay, complete an A, B, C, or D, that's correct, good job, bye. Then they've learned something for a couple minutes and they forget it a couple minutes later. But if it's part of a 1 hour chunk that's broken down into 5-minute pieces, then they get that flow and they stay in the activity. Okay, and then when it has action, like we want to do, like I'm going to embed here, a mix of different activities, what I'm going to show you in the framing, where we'll have 3 or 4 different activity types that you can pick and choose how to do that. Then basically that also keeps them engaged and keeps their mind thinking in different ways. So we're going to attack this in a very professional way. But also, this is my suggestion for the smaller videos, is to keep them engaged and not just the one-off 5-minute, 8-minute video that is not going to keep them learning. We want to keep them learning. We want them to use it. And then in the end, when the law firm looks and says, wow, those lawyers took the whole course and then they got their master class NFT certificate that I'm going to give them, then they feel like they've done something. They feel successful. They feel like they were challenged properly, and they don't just feel that they got some content thrown at them that was basically for us to make money off of some easy activity that we developed for them. All right, so we want to maintain our excellence, and that's what this method is going to do. This what I call the language master class. All right, thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you in the next session.